Hi, I'm Guy Lawrence, and you are listening to the Guy Lawrence podcast. If you're enjoying this content and you want to find out more and join me and come further down the rabbit hole, make sure you head back to guylawrence.com.au. Awesome, guys. Enjoy the show.
Yo, there he is.
Rockstar, welcome to part three.
Holy moly, part three. Yeah, man.
We're
Rock
getting
and
good at
roll.
this.
Well, I don't know about that. It just seems different every time. This is the first time it said request to join. I was like, all right, that's nice. Hasn't been there the last two times.
Yeah,
Who
no,
we got on
beautiful.
here?
We've
Joseph,
got
Bev, Greer.
Bria.
Going on.
Hello.
Hey, Lisa.
Hey, Lisa. Nice to virtually meet you. What are you drinking there,
Lots of
man?
heart. Just a little protein shake. I got on my bike. I did my yoga. I've done my meditation. I'm getting back on top of things, mate. It's all
Oh,
happening today.
well, I know a great conversation that's going to go on just now. If you need a bit more advice, I'm happy to share.
Yeah, mate. I totally need it. I got the cold showers going. I just got to get the ice for the bath, and we're rocking and rolling.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right,
Mm.
let's get into it. Enough small talk, hey? People giving us love
Yeah.
hearts and everything. That's beautiful. Thanks,
And I was just
guys.
gonna say that the hearts are going up my nose on my screen. They're coming right up. I'm on the right side of my screen. They're going right up my nose. Yeah. Snorting hearts. It's a new fad. Yeah, let's get
Truly
into it. Big talk. Out of the small talk into the big talk.
correct. So, obviously, recap part one. This is part three. So, it's amazing. This is the third episode. But part one was obviously about, coming up against our blocks, creating awareness around it, and things that
Yep.
we can do to bring that awareness to the forefront. Then part two was obviously about actually, well, how do we start to identify, once we've identified them, how do we start moving through? And then part three, which is today, is all about, enhancing and living this life moving forward, and what we do for different practices to continue to lean into that, you
Yeah.
know. And I'm going to kick off with a question for you first, Matt, because I've got some dot points here. I feel very prepared today, which is good. But and there was a conversation we had this morning. I wish I could have bottled what you said and actually transfer and tap into your brain and bring it back out right
Bottle.
now.
Bottle what I said.
Bottled it in, mate, and then
Bottle.
opened it when
Yeah.
needed to pour it out. But
Yeah, that's it.
and it's about maintaining the vision and understanding, and getting clear on the why behind it. So, what do
Mm.
you do around those areas?
Man, it's like it's a constant thing, isn't it? For me, it's always like a recalibrating and a rehashing of the vision because it's so easy to get caught up in the bullshit. Um, and at least that's what I found. Like this, I'm just gonna speak what's there for me right now because this is kind of like really fresh for me. I just got back from a weekend love festival out in the bush, and if I smell any more patchouli oil, I'm gonna vomit. But no, it was really good, really beautiful festival. But the thing about it was that I was in nature, I had a moment to stop, and like social media, like bye bye, see you later, and like texting and all that crap and all this marketing and all that just go away, and it allowed me just to drop in and just actually get back to the truth of what is there, and that's like living life, and feeling good in myself and not like, trying to chase the carrot, so to speak. And it's like, I know from my background, a lot of it's been, back in the day of power, positive thinking and, setting goals, goal setting, all this stuff and like visioning and vision boards and like all this stuff. And it's like, there's this, it's easy to focus externally outside of ourselves as to what it is that we want to create in our lives. And then if we start to do that, then we start to become dependent upon those external things and we lose sight of the actual why behind the whole journey to begin with. And so it's like,
Mm,
if I can go back to this place where I step into the why, which is basically the essence of what these things are that I'm wanting to create in my life are going to give me, then I let go of those things, the people, the relationships, the experiences, and all that stuff, and I find within myself how to actually be happy or free or fulfilled or whatever in me, and then that allows me then to hold true onto taking the next steps, the next actions that I need to take, instead of like trying to do actions to get the things that I want behind it. Do you know what I mean? It's like flipping
Yep.
things around. I don't know if I'm being clear about what I'm wanting to say here.
Yeah, I think what's really helped me as well, and I know exactly what you're saying. Like, I think it's really important to be defined by a vision of our future. We need to have that more real and excitement than our memories of our past, because ultimately we keep coming back to our current behaviors that are constantly keeping us in that space of where we are right now, and we're looking for the external things to fill a hole, to think that we'll get once we fill that gap, we're then going to be happy, right?
Right. Yeah,
And
that's it.
and getting clearer on having a defined, clear vision on the future. When what I find most people end up happening is that they're not quite clear on what it is, or they can't figure out the how they're going to do it. And then all of a sudden it raises more questions, more blocks. And from that, it then continues to keep us in the current circumstances as well in that, and I think what has definitely come for myself and for you is, as we get involved in it, is that our why has become a greater motivator. It's like the fuel to keep coming back to why we're doing it. As those challenges come up, we can then come back to that present moment, because the intention behind anything is then driving the long-term vision behind it. And once your attention, it's almost like your heart and your head are aligned. Once that's in place and you're remembering why, whatever it is you're doing everything, you can put up with all the bullshit, you can put up with all the things and keep coming back to that place. But I think if our why is not clear enough and our vision is not clear enough of what the end result looks like, we'll keep default moding back. And the last thing I want to add, and I don't know if I'm again explaining myself, but is then once we have a very clear, defined vision of our future, of what that's going to look like, is that I bring those thoughts, feelings, and emotions of the outcome, the result, into my body, into my present state of being, into my homeostasis. That's the information I keep thinking about. I'm sending the signal to my cells, which currently determines what my homeostasis is doing at any one stage, right? And as I feel those emotions constantly,
Get the Bruce.
Yeah, well, it's fresh in my mind. But as I'm in those states all the time, it then alters the way I'm perceiving my opportunities around me. That's helping me keep me on my navigational system, moving forward into that vision. So that I can continually do every day, and I keep coming back to that, and I keep looking at ways to bring in those states in to make me feel that way.
That's it. That's critical. Where you're going, that's it. Is like you get it into yourself first. Get the state into yourself, the feeling, and then the thoughts will come from the feeling, and then the actual experiences, and we'll lead from that. It's like we live backwards in our lives. We're so focused on like getting the things and doing the things that we need to do to have the things and then experience the experience. But it's like, no, experience where you are in yourself is more important than the things that you're doing in your life. It's like you've got to, if you're in a place of love and a place of peace and a place of harmony and happiness, and then you go and do things in your life, then that's going to perpetuate the more happiness and love and the joy. If you're a place of anger, frustration, limitations, fears, all these things, and then you go try and do all these things that you think are going to make you happy, you're just going to perpetuate the fears, the limitations, and the anger and all that shit. So it's like we got to make emotional state in our state of being, or what I call the vibe. That's why I wrote a freaking book called Love Your Vibe, because that's the most important thing out of all of it. Is you got to love your vibe. You got to be in a loving, full acceptance and like inspired place within yourself, to then allow that to ripple out into the world instead of allowing the world to inspire you. It's like we just live so backwards. It's like, and so once you start to, and that's what I was getting over the weekend. It's like I've spent the last few months just chasing again, and I get into this like momentum because it's all around me, and I see, oh, do you want to have more abundance in your life? Do you want to make $1 million? Do you want to have this new car? Do you want to have this great relationship? And like all this stuff is spewing out of my news feed, right? And I just get caught up, and I'm like, oh shit, I gotta promote my courses. I come do my work, like, and all this. And it's like, no, come back and drop into myself and into that place of knowing that everything I need, desire, and want is already right here. And it's not even those things, it's what those things are going to give me, which is an emotional state or a feeling tone or a vibration in myself that I can get just right here, right now. And it's like, there's nothing to chase. And that's when you're fucking there, right? I know. Go.
Exactly. Right. No, it's perfect. 'Cause I'm going to ask you another question, because I envisage myself, if especially with you working with sound and vibration, right? Like if everything is a frequency, if you break it down all the way to the the smallest particle, which is then actually sound energy frequency vibration, then would it be fair to say our emotional states actually are setting off a vibrational frequency, right? And they can become more dense and heavy, the lower the emotional state, like especially when we're into guilt and worthiness and anger and frustration or whatever that might be. But then I see myself as like a tuning fork.
That's it.
And
Yeah.
right. And the way I'm being, not the way I'm thinking. Like I can act this shit out all day. I can act, like I said, I can go through the motions of gratitude. I can write my journal down. But if I'm not being it and feeling it, and
There's
then
an embodiment. Yeah.
there's an embodiment, right? And then raising my frequency, it's actually changing my the whole state and energy of who I'm being, like an energy generator. And I'm resonating at a different frequency. And would it be fair to say from those states of what you find, the more you come back to self, the more you come back to the moment, let go of all those attachments, that the more things actually start flowing to you in the most random and perfect way that your mind could never have come up with in the first place?
Exactly right. Why? Because
Right.
who are you? You say you come back to yourself. Well, what self are you coming back to? You're not coming back to your body. You're not coming back to your mind. You're not coming back to your emotion. Like those are all identities that we portray that are just like the vessel of our whole self coming through. So when we go back to self, it's like, can you go back to the true self, the soul self, the divine self, and resonate from that frequency? Because if you can, then you transcend time, then you transcend space, then you actually connect to all your dreams, desires, and goals instantaneously, because you are one with all consciousness. And that's what you want to tune into. That's why just being with your whole self, your divine self, soul self, is the most important thing that you can ever do in your life.
Yes. So I'm going to ask you a
Yeah.
question. How do you maintain that? How do you maintain that? Because and that's the second dot point we got is that we've got continue to practice resilience. That's what we've got written down, right? So
That's it.
how
You've
would you
got.
go for
Sorry,
it?
go on. Yeah,
Yeah, I
no,
was
you
going to
just got
ask
to
you,
be
how would you
solid
define
in
that?
yourself, mate. It's like that's what all this work is about. This work isn't about getting something or becoming something. It's about allowing you to. It's about teaching yourself how to hold alignment with your true self when the world and life kicks you around. That's it,
Okay,
right?
why are we so fearful about true self? Because we can we got to go there because we can
Putting
stray.
me on the stand, mate. You're putting me on the stand here.
I'm loving it. This is good. Well, no, and it's something that I'm always curious about, because the true self scared me for a long time. I didn't realize how far I strayed from
But
it.
what's scared? Or what part of you is scared? That's the question.
Exactly, because now I can't believe I even used to think and act and behave that way. When I'm like, oh my God, life's just just fucking let it in. Like, excuse the pun, but it's for
It's
me that's where it's gone. But before I
because
started to, yeah, go on.
no, I'm sorry. I didn't even. There's so much coming out. I just totally interrupted your story, mate.
That's good. That's good.
uh, uh, because we attach our identity to those things, and then those things are mind or our bodies or emotion. Those things are not our true identity. And if we attach our identity to those things are not permanent. They're going to die. They're going to end. And that if you actually then start to push against that, because the truth of who we are is much greater than those things, and those things actually have to die in a way in order for
Yeah.
us to embrace the true identity of ourselves. So it's like, if we're attached to our minds and that's who we are, or if we're attached to our bodies and that's who we are, or our, take it even further, our religions, our cultures, our our state, our whatever
Our
government we vote
qualifications.
in, all that's, if we attach to any one of those actually, we need to let go of them, which actually, let go, hey, which actually feels like a death in that part of ourselves, to embrace the wholeness of ourselves and reclaim that identity. And so it's not really a dying or a fear, it's a fear of dying. It's a
Death of
what
ego,
am I trying to say? It's a
right?
death of ego, I guess. I get, well, I mean, it's just letting go of
Kind of,
attachment or
yeah.
identity to that which we've identified with as us. So basically, it feels like a death. Like if I was to say I'm just my mind, and then I have to let go of the mind to actually feel into that larger part of myself, then the mind's like, well, I'm gonna die then, right? And then it's about, well, realizing that actually the more I traverse it through the meditation, through the breath work, through the sound work, whatever practices you're using to actually feel that expanse of consciousness that actually is you, the more you go there, the more you realize it's safe, and that these
Mhm.
impermanent aspects that we identify with are okay to let go of, and that the body's not going to live forever, the mind's not going to live forever, but the essence of yourself is. And the more you identify and attach yourself and and resonate with that, the more you're going to be feeling safe and
Yeah.
and
But
and
but but
allow
here's
that
the
to.
but here's the thing, right? Until I
Yeah.
experienced that connection to
Mm,
source energy, until I became more energy than less matter, and had
mm,
a direct embodiment experience from it, right? Everything we
mm.
just said sounded double Dutch to me, even though I wanted to get it,
True. Yeah, that's
right?
it, isn't it? You have got no point of reference, right?
There's
Because the
no
only
point of
point of reference we
reference.
have is that
Our
identity.
past experiences and our
Right.
identity to that. And so,
Yeah.
but there was like this pull within me that was greater than all that shit, noise, and everything that was going on my entire life. And
Mm,
I could feel it, right? And every time I honored that feeling that was beyond all of that, it kept taking me somewhere. And I'm like just like, where's this going? I have no idea. But I started to honor
mm,
and trust that. And it was almost like then this started to evolve. And then once I had that direct experience, it then sped everything up. Like the game changed. But I almost had to trust so much beyond anything that I'd ever known to lean into that feeling that was within me that nobody else could tell me or identify with or do that.
mm,
And I would
mm,
urge everyone that's watching and listening to this to start to listen to that and trust it and start to act upon it. Because when you have that experience, because there'll come a point, like you said, where you have to face almost the death of those attachments when you do this work. There will be,
mm.
right? That's what we do at the retreat even. And but when I came out of it the other side, it was like, I can't believe how much life, how amazing, like it just changed the lens. And once
Mm.
that lens was changed, it allowed me to really start to embody those feelings on more, because I had a new reference point and I could keep coming back to
That's
going,
it.
I've got it. I understand it now. And that's why I would get more excited to get up and meditate. Like I meditate for an hour every morning. I did it this morning,
Mm.
mate. Like, and I generate those feelings and emotions, and I'm constantly reconditioning that body. And I've had a fabulous day, like,
Yeah.
and it just keeps unfolding. And I don't really fixate on how it should work out anymore.
Mm.
And it's, and that's the message I want to hammer home. I hope that was relevant.
Absolutely. Well, that's it. And it's like you like you said, you just you change your priorities. The priority of meditation for you to connect to that source point and to remember that is more important than rushing into your day and doing all the things that you need to do.
Correct.
Right. So absolutely. It's just, yeah, it's critical.
So last dot point to help.
Mm.
I think we're on target for today, to embrace living in flow is feel more than think is what I've got written down. How would you interpret that?
Mm. Mm. You go. How would you interpret it?
Well,
Oh,
I almost covered it in the last one, but
mm,
because I have such a strong practice now, and I embody emotions and feelings, and as we already covered, our feelings are a direct representation of our tuning fork and what we're vibrating.
yeah.
I used to look at it like a test. I remember reading The Alchemist, right? by Paul Coelho many, many years ago. And I was
Mm.
sitting on a beach in Spain just before I was going to migrate, 2004, and I read this book in it just on the beach in one go. I was devoured. I was in
Ah.
Spain, and I loved every moment of it. And I would
Mm.
envisage myself to be like Santiago, going, oh my God, this guy's like this young shepherd that just followed his heart and wisdom, and it was a beautiful tale.
Mm.
But
Mm.
I just bought into the whole concept,
Yeah.
and I thought, you know, if you trust enough, if you have faith enough, and you have enough courage, the way will show itself, right? And I understood even then that it was, you know, honoring that feelings that would come up, and like we've discussed, being aware, and recognize what's going on. That, you know, our thoughts and our feelings are not necessarily us; they're just what that trained behavior is. And I would start to practice gratitude, but then I would make choices that were not too beyond my comfort zone, to put
Mm.
trust in something, and I'd go, okay, I'm going to see if this shit works.
Yeah, that's it.
And I would do something like migrating to Australia. It was a big decision for me, but reading something
Mm.
like that, I started to trust, and I would find these opportunities to go, I'm just going to really surrender. You know, it's not like change, you know, if you're going to go out and just do it and change a career, if you've not done it before, it could be terrifying. So it could be just as simple
Mm.
as trying to surrender to the day and do something different just to see what happens and explore as it goes on. But for me, I always come back to heart. I really try not to think things too much or overanalyze. Yes, I use my head
Mm.
and creativity, but I always use the heart as the power force driving it, not the other way around. I think most of us, and I used to be the same, would try and think everything through and ignore the feelings that were coming
Mm.
up around it. And the more I practiced that, the more I could lean in and do what we do. And hence how I managed to make bigger decisions from transitioning from my old company, knowing that my heart wasn't in it as much anymore, and be able to make those decisions and trust my compass more than what reality was affirming to me. And I kept leaning into that. I didn't know how it was going to work out, you know, and 18
Mm.
months later, it's been going brilliantly, and we've done retreats and I've done lots of workshops, but I didn't focus on any of that. I just kept leaning into my feeling,
Mm.
finding the edge of my comfort zone, and keep going in that direction. How's that?
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, yeah,
And recalibrating along the way. I think it's important. It's like there tends to
massively.
be a rigidity when we start to focus on what it is we want to create in the future. And I know, like, from my own experience, if I look back, there's probably a dozen different careers that I thought I was going to pursue that I didn't pursue, but I needed to step towards in order to open the opportunity or the perception of what it is that I was going to do. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and
Taste the
that's on
buffet.
many different levels. Yeah, yeah. So it was like, you know, you gotta take action towards what feels good. But then as you take the action, you step towards it, it might be like, well, actually, from where I was, you know, it's like climbing a mountain, right? So you can only see so far from the vantage point, and you take a few steps up that mountain and you've got a larger vantage point. And so then you can
Mm,
see, you can recalibrate again. And so it's like not a lot, it's letting go of attachments too, that what it's supposed to look like and what it's supposed to be.
so,
And,
uh,
you know, I could have never scripted, like, coming from computer engineering degree and, you know, sitting in a cubicle writing code for point of sale systems, the you know, that was 20 years ago for me.
yeah,
And that person in that cubicle didn't really know what a gong was, didn't didn't know much about anything with the sound and how it's going to impact.
yeah,
And it was through, you know, so many windy roads that then now it's like, oh yeah, it just, I look back and it makes sense. All those things, the steps that I took, makes so much sense. And it was because I didn't, you know, I didn't hold down and say, oh, well, I got a computer engineering degree. Now I've got to actually work in that field for the rest of my life and do that. So, you know, this doesn't feel good. What feels good? Well, it felt good to go sit on the top of Santa Monica Mountains and play guitar to the birds. And so I did that during lunch, you know, and that inspired so much more in me. And it was just like, you know, that's one little moment. And it's like, you just got to keep finding those moments, those timeless moments.
You
I
got to
think
get
that's one thing that
curious, haven't you?
curious, yeah.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah,
it
and know
is,
yourself as well. Fucking hell.
well, that's how you do it. I mean, I quite often think we can get caught up in and romanticize a
Mm,
different future as well. And those memories we can run over and over, and we can end up convincing ourselves
mm,
that over there is where happiness lies. And then we
mm,
get there, and actually it's like, I didn't even want that. So, you
mm.
know, I think what you say is like, we really need to just follow our enthusiasm and where our passions lie, and just try things and slow. Oh well,
Yeah,
actually that actually felt good. I really enjoyed that. I want to do it
that's
again
it.
and explore. Right. I also heard an analogy once that when they fire a rocket to the moon, it's on course less than 1% the whole time.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, that's fantastic. It's so
Right.
true, hey?
And it's
That
constantly
it's
self-adjusting.
just constant adjusting. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So true. Well, when you were talking too, it's like you know, Joseph Campbell said, "Follow your bliss," right?
Yeah.
And you know, that I was just thinking that in the bath yesterday. It's like, what does follow my bliss mean? And it's like, it's not about following a certain career or following taking, you know, getting a certain thing in my life. It's like, how does bliss feel in me? And then if I move in this direction, does that bring more of that feeling? Does that bring
Yeah.
more of that, uh, you know, ease?
Yeah. Totally. And then
Yeah, go that direction.
you go from there. Like, it's taken me a long time to get to
Mm,
this point, but it's because I knew when I was off, even in the deepest darkest times of my own life, and different
mm,
in my unhappiness, I knew then I was off kilter, and the only way I got myself out of it was by continually not settling for certain areas in my life, and just asking the questions, and just slowly nudging myself across, and all that heartache and hardship that has happened, which is everyone's story. You know, we've all been there.
mm,
You know, it helped shape me and created my own kind of jewel within me that allowed me to start to find my true self. And then I was using them as like checkpoints of where I didn't want to be, and I kept adjusting. And even though it was felt lost and hopeless for a time, and again, it comes back to what we've shared before about finding your tribe, finding your community, and people that have been through it and understanding it, to be there. Look, you're not going nuts. This is happening.
mm.
To go that self-correction and curiosity has always been there, and once you start having feedback that, oh shit, this is working, this is right, and like, and when
Mm,
you have those embodied connections we spoke about earlier, it just
mm,
continues to amplify and
mm.
motivate you. So then your vision of the future becomes much more powerful than your memories of the past, and that's when it's game on.
Game on. That's right.
Game on. That's beautiful. Is there anything you'd like to add or say before we wrap it up? I know we've mentioned the retreat a couple of times, but we've got only one spot left as of
Yeah,
this
what?
video.
Yeah, it's funny. I just posted there's 4 spots left, and then yeah, within hours, so 1 spot left.
Yeah.
That's exciting, mate. Like, well, can we move the August date up sooner? Like, let's
No,
do it next week.
we can't, sadly. I
I
know, I'm
know,
ready.
right?
I'm ready.
I'm ready to go on retreat, mate. Let's do this.
I know.
Um,
I know.
yeah. No, so what are we have practical steps for people? What
Daily?
was the practical Well, I
Well,
mean,
bring it.
yeah, like the
I
last
thought,
two we've
well,
had.
let's recap everything, then break it back down.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so the maintaining the vision of the future, and that comes from, and if you're not clear on what the vision of the future is, that's okay. It's almost like focus on the destination that way and start to become curious, really start to cultivate the emotions and feelings, and get into a daily practice like you've already achieved whatever that vision of the future looks like. So that's
Mm,
practical step number one, right?
mm,
Like, that's a
mm-hmm.
practice. I do it daily. I don't make that shit up. I do, like, it's like we said, I do it. Right.
You're making this shit up, man.
And it's been
Mm,
amazing, and it's helping recondition my body, right, to then, and then as my day because I'm already up in the feelings, I start to see more opportunities around me that already honoring the way I feel, which is normally in a pretty good place. And spontaneity happens, things start to flow. And I did try to, not all the time, I do fall back into the old ways, but detach from outcome. And I get reminders as well if I don't. So that's a practical thing, right? Continue to practice resilience on a daily basis. Find things. You mentioned cold showers. Tell us about your cold showers, mate. You got back into it.
Yeah, because I'm getting ready for the retreat when you're going to chuck me in a ice hole. No, they're phenomenal. It's all about resilience, like you're talking about. So I do a lot of the practices I do. I mean, the soul vaulting work, the breath work that I do, it's all designed to put you into a stress state, so that and then that creates a whole catalyst. It's a catalyst for a journey of biochemical bliss, like basically. But you're learning to take command of yourself and be in harmony, regardless of the situation. So resilience. So I jump in the shower, I'm like freaking out. My mind is saying, no, you did this yesterday. What's the freaking point? Just have a warm shower, relax. And then aside from all the health benefits that it gives you, and then you jump into it, and it's like contraction. My body contracts. My breath is short. And I'm like, wait a minute. Why do I got to be so contracted? It's just cold water. Relax into that. Relax, open. And then I learn to take command of my body, learn to take command of my breath. And that allows me then to take command of my thoughts and my emotions. And then no matter what life throws at me, I have that reference point from being in a damn cold shower, and say, well, yeah, my friend just got killed, and it's like, well, yeah, that fucking sucks, and there's a lot of pain and emotion there, and I can find my way through it and relax into that hurt and relax into that grief and allow it to then unfold and open and allow me then to grow and to stay in harmony with my true self as these events unfold and try and knock us out. So
it's a great
resilience
practice.
is key.
Yeah. So finding situations daily to create resilience.
Yeah, I think that feeling is the best. Get into that feeling. You know, that the vision is there, I think, to inspire your opportunity to explore the feeling that you're wanting to create. You see what I mean? It's like, what is your dream? What is your vision? What is it that you really want to create in your life? And don't be attached to that. If you had that right now, what that feel like? How would you stand in your body? How would you breathe? What thoughts would you be thinking? And then perpetuate that in each moment and check in with yourself as you're going through your day. Am I stressed and freaked out, or am I in the state, the vibe of the vision?
Yeah. And the last practical point I would say is stop trying to think things through and practice making heart-based decisions that are based on your feeling. This feels right. I'm going to explore it. I'm going to pick up the phone and ring that person. I'm going to stop to speak to that person in the car. I don't know why, but it feels right. And just actually, because sometimes you might have to face your resilience of what feels uncomfortable to then follow that feeling.
To follow that, yeah. And I do it all the time. I call people all the time. Anytime somebody crosses my mind, I pick up the phone or I text them or I message like, fuck, I'm just thinking about you. How do you do that? I'm like, well, I just listen to myself.
What do you want? I don't
action.
know, but let's explore it. There's a reason.
That's it.
We're just waiting for the universe to intervene.
So much fun. Yeah.
So I think that's a great way to end it. They're great practical things to apply as well. And for anyone watching this later, feel free to ask us questions and tag us in the comments. And if you watch this and enjoy it, and this will be as a podcast as well in a few days if you want to listen to the full thing on my podcast, originally under my name, Guy Lawrence Podcast. I'm part 1 and 2 are already there. Yeah, as you do. Any final words?
I'm feeling a bit sad now. This is the third of 3. Now I don't get to hang out with you on Tuesdays anymore. What are we gonna do?
I'm sure this won't be our last one, mate. I have a funny feeling.
Yeah, it's that. Just follow that feeling, mate. I'll see you soon.
You're welcome. Thanks, legend.